Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Well, it's that time of year again. Christmas is upon us, and for those of us with an interest in television, there's no greater signifier of the season than the introduction of Christmas-themed idents. A lot of different channels embrace this decades-old tradition, but perhaps the oldest and arguably most iconic have usually come from BBC One. In recent years, the BBC One Christmas idents have tended to feature popular animated characters, and in 2024, that's no exception, as they feature the most beloved pair of the Aardman staple, Wallace and Gromit. How fitting too, as not only is it their 35th anniversary this year, but they'll be debuting a brand new feature-length film on Christmas Day, Vengeance Most Foul, which is set to feature the long-awaited return of a certain penguin, so you better keep your eyes peeled. In honour of this, Aardman have once again teamed up with the BBC to create some festive sequences. This isn't Wallace and Gromit's first rodeo with the Beeb either. Back in 1995, the year A Close Shave debuted, they were the stars of the Christmas ident for BBC Two.
Now on BBC Two, in another enchanting story from Oscar-winning animator Nick Park, with more gadgets than James Bond, more menacing than Jaws, Wallace and Gromit are about to encounter a fiendish stranger.
Much later, in 2008, they would make their ident debut on BBC One, getting up to a whole host of shenanigans in the snow. So now, 16 years later, just what treats do they have in store for us? Let's find out as we look to the first of these sequences, Christmas Jumpers. Okay, perfect way to get Christmas going. First of all, the appearance of Wallace and Gromit in any media is more than enough to get a smile on my face. But what a cosy Christmas setting that we have here. We see the duo at home, getting comfy on the sofa, ready to watch some festive telly. But you might be asking, who is that chap in the middle? This is Norbot, a new character introduced in the new film. He is a smart gnome, designed to assist in the most useful way possible, like most of our smart devices. He joins in the gang by offering mince pies, and seemingly feels like a natural member of the family. As to whether that's completely the case in Vengeance Most Foul, you'll have to wait and see. I can see this being the main placeholder ident for the festive season this year. The living room setting is familiar and relatable, particularly for families who like to watch Christmas TV together. The train set is a nice callback to The Wrong Trousers, the first time that Feathers McGraw made an appearance, and the fluidity of the stop-motion animation is absolutely top class, as we've come to expect and admire from the Aardman team. And the Christmas jumpers themselves, a classic ho-ho-ho motif, but it is charming nonetheless. What I like is, even after the first chunk of the sequence, rather than having the characters sit motionless watching the telly, there are little moments where they still interact with one another, giving audiences something more to digest if the continuity announcement that will play over this runs for quite a length of time. Overall, a cracking way to kick off Christmas. Let's see how things follow up in The Big Light Up. Another winner, if you ask me. we see Gromit try to set up a traditional Christmas outside the family home, before Wallace steps in to show off his new invention, a gigantic mechanical Christmas tree, with Norbot as the star on top. This is definitely in keeping with the characters, as Wallace is always inventing some kind of wacky contraption, but not only does this put a fun spin on the traditional look of a Christmas tree, but the rousing music and the nighttime setting blend together beautifully. Like in all the best Christmas TV and film, having a score like that against a dark night sky, the lights of the Christmas tree and house shining out whilst neighbours look on, is a sight that may be tried and tested, but when done right, it will always absolutely work, and work it does here. My only criticism, and this is definitely a nitpick, would be that I would have loved to have seen some more features from the Christmas tree itself, like some strange or eccentric appendages or branches. That would have been a neat addition, and again, very in keeping with Wallace's character as an inventor. Another stellar job, lads, but can they go for the hat trick? Let's take a gander at the third and final ident of the festive set for this year, ice sculpture.
Oi, hey! Ha-ha!
An icy surprise there, that's for sure. Out in the snow, we see our favourite pair making ice sculptures of one another. Norbot is here, also making his own sculpture of... doesn't he look familiar? Yes, he's making a sculpture of Feathers McGraw, remodelling him at one point to feature him holding the famed blue diamond. As the camera pans, it seems that Gromit notices something is amiss with this sculpture, whilst Wallace remains playfully oblivious, as he often does in his films and shorts. I love the fact that Feathers got a feature in the idents, as even though he's the villain of Vengeance Most Foul, he's just an important character as these three. I like the glove popping off, but I do think in this case we could have seen a few more varied reactions from Wallace, Gromit, and even Norbot as this keeps happening. It wouldn't have to be anything extravagant, but just something a bit more varied to dampen out the repetition and the links to the villainous penguin. Out of the three, I would argue this one is my least favourite, but it is far from being a bad ident. In fact, all three of these sequences today are packed full of Christmas fun, festivities, and joy, which is ultimately what their primary aim should be tailored to.
Oh, what a treat. Wallace and Gromit switching on our Christmas lights. 'Tis the season to be together with BBC One.
As mentioned earlier, Wallace and Gromit are no strangers to Christmas idents, and in their third go-around for the BBC, I'd argue that they showcase perfectly why they're the right pair for the job. Their broad appeal, as well as the delight and charm in the scenarios that we see them in, are apt for Christmas TV idents. Whether it's creating sculptures in the snow, turning on the Christmas lights on a dark December evening, or getting all warm and cozy at home, gathering round the telly to watch some quality entertainment, these are all scenarios we can relate to and enjoy, but also distinctly have that Wallace and Gromit twist to them. A lovely way for BBC One to embrace Christmas in 2024, and I hope that, like me, these idents make you feel that warm, fuzzy feeling, and get you excited for Vengeance Most Foul, debuting on BBC One on Christmas Day. Job well done, lads.
It's Vengeance Most Foul!
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Ident Review. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like the video, subscribe to us here at AMTV, and let me know your thoughts on the idents we've looked at today in the comments down below. Until the next time, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Derek Chambers, Shaun Knock, Daud Khan, Liam De-Maine, Ajmac 200017, Deck, Jen, Evanhart41, Traffi, Tim Ripley, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Marnanol Thurman, John Wakefield, Kieran Bolton, 40-something Manchild, Jerry Ralph, John McLeod, Subs Khan, Saint Rocket 9, James Wallace, and Ben, our AMTV staff members.